back to front there. People have different, a bit here, a bit there. They've joined it together. So what did Uthman do? He took a brave decision. We don't think about this decision. It's because it happened. But think about how it must have been. He said, he compiled the Quran. He had different huffaz, people who had memorized the Quran, check it through. He made a committee to check it through, that this is the way the Prophet ﷺ wanted it ordered, this is the way it was revealed, not a single dot is in a misplaced. And once the committee, which was led by Zayd ibn Thabit, had come back and said, yes, we've double, triple, quadruple, 100 times checked this over, multiple different people, multiple different sources. Once they'd done that, Uthman did the boss move that none of us would have the guts to do. Bring all the other copies and destroy them. Destroy them. Why? Why do you do that? Why don't you just keep them? Why? You could just leave it. You could just say these are the official copies, everything else is not official copy. No. Bring all the other copies and destroy them. This takes guts. What is Uthman teaching us? He's teaching us you have to be organized. No half measures here, right? No, if you ever work on a project with a group project, it's always the same, right? Final version 1, 2, final version 1997. This is really the final version times 3. Okay, final. Yeah, that's what we do all the time, right? Thousands of versions flying around, floating around. It's just like which one's the right one, which one isn't the right one. That's what would have happened here. Oh wait, this is Uthman al-Quran, but I've seen a version over here that was like 10 years older. Maybe that one is the one we should be reading. No. No room for mistakes, no room for errors. And he printed 6, and he sent them to 6 different parts of the empire so that everyone could have a copy, and this would be the official copy. This is a copy in Tashkent. I went and I saw it. I had, alhamdulillah, a chance to see it myself. It's huge, it's large parchment. But it's good to see it once, at least with your own eyes, that this is the preservation of the Quran, the lens the Sahaba went through. So ask ourselves, brothers and sisters, in our lives, are we organized? Or no? Come on, let's be honest, right? We couldn't make a single thing run on time, right? Not a prayer, nothing runs on time. Even this talk I started 10 minutes late. And we're used to it. There's a picture on social media, right? It shows shoes outside a Buddhist monastery. Because they also take off the shoes when they go inside their monastery, the temple. And all nicely lined up. Anyone can, it's literally like as if like it's a spreadsheet and a grid. Anyone who comes up can just find the shoe and go. Compare that to any mosque. Right? I remember the first Islam Awareness Week that was happening in my local mosque. And we unexpectedly had loads of non-Muslims come, and while they were in there, we were surprised, and they were having a talk, an introduction to Islam. My brother turned to me and said, "Should we steal their shoes and introduce them to the real Islam?" Because that's what happens, right? Even in Haram, you can't leave your shoes with anywhere. You guaranteed it will go, especially if they're nice. They're gone, right? You're walking home barefoot. What's going on? We're not organized. We don't think about these things. It's something like, it's not within us. Within our societies, are we organized? Are we efficient? Do we have committees and subcommittees? Do we think about having rolling meetings and things like that? No, not really. We have ad hoc meetings. We have ad hoc structure. Some meetings will be 1 hour. Some will be 3 hours. So, is there an agenda item fixed? No, not really. It's all just random. Everything happens randomly. How is our society, our mosques organized? I guarantee you the most mosques are organized this way. The mosque is built for 50 people, and then when it reaches a capacity of 50 people, they're like, there's 67 people praying in the car park. It's like, we need to make a bigger mosque. Let's make a mosque with 70 people. By the time you finish the extension for 70 people, the extra 20 that was praying in the car park, they'll have kids, and there's another 20 people. They're like, oh my God, we need another extension. It's a never-ending extension, right? Every mosque is the same. Nobody builds a mosque for the future, that for the next 20 years we don't need to build a mosque. They literally build it so that it's obsolete by the time it's finished. They build a mosque and then they're like, no car parking. Why do people come to the mosque? Well, maybe we can't car park. We can't park our cars. Have you thought about that? No, we don't have money. It's like, yeah, but think, organize. We organize as a community. You got enough money to build 5 mosques on one street. Why don't you just build 1 mosque with a car park? I couldn't do that, man. That means I even have to pray with a barely. That, Qiyamah will come. Right? We're not organized. We're not efficient. We're not. Nobody looks at us and thinks, yeah, these guys, they can fly an airplane. No, we can crash them, but not fly them, right? That's all they look at us for. Can we run the trains on time? Nothing. You go to a Muslim country, you're like, am I going to make it out alive? I don't know. Dengue fever, this and the other, hygiene. Not like here, there's like 3-star for every chicken shop, right? Over there, it's like, what? What are you talking about, 3-star hygiene? Hygiene is optional. And even the organized principle, it comes in everything. Marriage, like most of you guys obviously are not married, and now everyone's paying attention. But the number of times, like, I have like brothers and sisters who are like, oh, I'm struggling to get married, and it's like, I don't know what you were expecting. Like, were you expecting someone to just, I don't know, like a rom-com, like she would arrive on the scene, or he would be just there and that's it. Like without even asking, you guys would get married. Like, how does this work? You did nothing to find your partner. You're not even in the same zones. You work in your hospital, in your clinic. You have the same 2 friends, right? That you speak to every day. And then afterwards you're like, I don't know why the girl in my dreams, how's she gonna find you? If you're not even in any organization, you're not in any project, you're not doing anything, how is he or she supposed to find you? And they're like, I'm struggling so much. Of course you're struggling. So we're not organized in any way, shape, or form. And it's something that we could be better at. Umar Dhanhu, obviously we know so much about Umar Dhanhu. He's probably the Sahaba that lends himself to so many stories, a larger than life personality, like they all were. But Umar Dhanhu, we know him as a tough guy, the no-nonsense person, right? The kind of guy that you don't want to cross. Remember the Prophet ﷺ said, Umar Dhanhu was going down one road, and Shaitan was going down the same road, you go the other way. Be like, I'm not going to go past this guy, he wants to avoid trouble. And we know that about Umar Dhanhu, right? When the Prophet ﷺ, said that if there was a prophet to come after me, it would be Umar Dhanhu, there was a reason for that. So this is a man who's not used to not getting his way. This is a man who is very strong, very powerful, and yet this is what happened to him. When he was Khalifa, he was in Masjid Nabawi, and the number of people that was coming into Medina increased a heck of a lot, huge numbers. And a lot of people who were from outside, who never lived there before. People from Persian Empire, Roman Empire, they're all there, slaves, non-Muslims. And he started worrying that for the women to come to the mosque, it's getting a little bit tricky now. There are people, there are other people around here that could do anything. So he stood up and he said, I don't think women should stop coming to the mosque from now on, right? Women should stop coming to the mosque from now on. And we'll leave it at that, because it's too dangerous, etc. I don't even know if he explained himself, he just said women should stop. This is in front of all the Sahaba. Almost all the big Sahaba were there. No one said a thing. Ali didn't say a word. Uthman quiet. Everyone, Abu Bakr al-Jarrah, if he was there, everyone is quiet. No one said anything. But then a female Sahaba from the back stood up and she said, who are you to deny us what the Prophet ﷺ allowed to happen? Who are you? It wasn't even like, wait, maybe there's another way of looking at it. Maybe we could do none of this. It was like, who are you to deny us what the Prophet ﷺ allowed us? And when she said this, Umar Dhanhu immediately realized that he had overreacted. It's very tough about yourself, that you made a mistake. And he publicly said that he was wrong. And he said that he could be corrected. In front of everyone, he apologized. And the plan never continued. Imagine if that sister never stood up, that female Sahaba never stood up. I guarantee you, up to this day, no man would allow a woman into a mosque. Umar said so, that's it, you're not coming in. Right? Despite the situation changing or whatever, we don't think that far ahead. But because she stood up, that was the first point. Bravery, right? Like Ali radiallahu anhu. Stand up. Everyone's quiet. Why didn't anyone else stand up? It wasn't like 10, 20 people. One person stood up and said, what's going on here? This ain't right. And it takes the second person with a big heart to realize, I made a mistake. Ask yourself, brothers and sisters, how often have you ever said, I made a mistake? How often have you admitted, we all like to think that we have, but how often have we admitted that we made a mistake when we're in an argument or in a discussion or anything? Admit to our wrongs. It's not something we do usually, but we should. This is from our history. You know, even as a community, we don't do that. How often have you heard the Muslim community take a long, hard look at itself? We never do that. We're literally always on the defensive. We're always like, no, the terrorism got nothing to do with me. That grooming got nothing to do with me. Yeah, nothing's got anything to do with us, right? Nothing has anything to do with us. You would feel like that, right? If you saw a father whose son was, one of his sons was a rapist, one was a murderer, one was a criminal, one was doing drugs, and when you ask him, hey, what's going on? He's like, it got nothing to do with me. That wasn't me that did it. It was them. You know, like, don't ask me. That's the way we behave, isn't it? Nothing has anything to do with us. This is not saying that we should take collective responsibility. It's not saying that, you know, like if somebody does something evil that we're like, yes, Islam is to blame. That's not true. But something is going wrong, right? Something's not right when this is happening and there are young Muslims that are growing up, that are doing these kind of things. Something needs to change. But nothing will ever change because us as a community never ask ourselves that, did we do anything wrong? Could we have done better? That is a lesson from the life of Umar Da'an. Again, you guys know the story from the life of Umar Da'an. He went to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. This is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem, which is basically the most revered site in the whole of Christianity. This is where they believe Isa was crucified and where he lay for a little while. And this is their pilgrimage site they go to. And when the Muslims took Jerusalem, when Umar Da'an took Jerusalem, he was invited by Sophronius, the bishop, to go on the tour. So Sophronius is showing Umar Da'an around, this is this site, this is that site. And Umar Da'an was walking along with him. And he was showing him around this Church of the Holy Sepulchre. And when he was there, it was time for Asr prayer. Umar Da'an said, I need to take a break, I need to pray. And Sophronius, being the host that he was, he's trying to get on the good side of Umar Da'an. He was like, hey, just pray here, it's fine, pray here, there's nothing, there's nothing to stop you. There's not even any idols just around in that courtyard, you can pray right here. What did Umar Da'an do? He said, no, I can't pray here. If I pray here, then I fear that in generations to come, Muslims will come and say, Umar prayed here, and then they're going to turn that area into a mosque. So I'm going to go outside and pray on the steps, if that's okay. So he went outside, went onto the steps, and he prayed there. A few centuries later, Muslims were like, Umar Da'an prayed on these steps, We're going to take these steps and build a mosque, which is what they did. What is Umar Da'an teaching us? He's teaching us tolerance, but he's also teaching us foresight. Thinking ahead. Thinking 5 steps ahead. Thinking about the next generation. Don't just always think about yourself. Think about the future. If you never think about further than your nose, you're never going to get further than your nose. Right? Umar Da'an was always thinking about how something would impact the future generations. When Umar Da'an kissed the black stone, he said publicly, I only kiss you because I saw the Prophet ﷺ kiss you. Why? Because he's teaching us. Don't kiss it because you think the stone's going to give you special powers or special barakah or karama or anything like that. This is only being done because Prophet ﷺ did it. Ramadan was teaching us that if we don't think about the future is going to happen to us anyway, and we're not going to be prepared for it. Think about our future generations, what the impact is going to have. Do we do that on an individual level? Do we think what impact our actions are going to have on the future generations? When we decide to screw up our degrees and not get a good job, how is that going to impact your career? And how is that going to impact your Muslim community when they were looking for educated Muslim professionals to do something useful to train the next generation? When you decide to go and get married to someone because she's pretty, and 10 years later you realize that she's no longer pretty and you don't get along at all, and you have different priorities, do you think about the future generations? Do you think about your kids? When you decide to build a mosque in an area which is inaccessible to your youth or to anyone who needs to drive. When you decide to build a mosque without a women's section, do you think what's going to happen? It's a good excuse, right? Every mosque has that excuse. We don't only have this much space. The brothers need to pray. There's no space for the sisters. Great excuse. But don't complain afterwards that the sisters are far away from the deen. Don't complain afterwards, why are they not wearing a hijab, why are they doing this, blah, 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 blah. Don't. And when they get upset at you and they fight for their rights, don't call them feminists. We don't have, and literally every hospital I go to, it's the same thing. Friday prayer, there's more space for our shoes than there are for the sisters. And they keep pushing the sisters, and they're pushing that barrier closer and closer until there's no space for the sisters, right? You guys are lucky, Warwick, you have your own, mashallah, 5-star prayer rooms, you have that. But soon you leave Warwick and then you'll see the real world. It's not like that, right? We're doing a sink where you have to be very quick. Somebody's going to find you what you do with the foot in the sink. So we don't think about these things. We don't think, how is that going to impact? It's not just us, even our scholars aren't thinking about the future. We had this whole wave of scholars having problems, right, on social media, being caught out with sisters or being caught out with this or that. It's had a huge negative impact on the Muslim community, right? Like, it's been really detrimental when you look at it and you think, man, I used to look up to that guy. Why did that happen? Because our scholars, no matter how much we love them and we respect them, but they didn't think, what's the impact going to be of a man traveling, for the majority of the year he's traveling away from his family, and 99.9% of scholars are men, and the majority of most audiences are sisters, right? This is an anomaly. Most audiences, most Islamic organizations, most projects, the majority of all the teams are sisters, right? We all know this, we all see this. Brothers are too busy playing football or playing video games, or going to the gym, working on leg day, or whatever it is, non-stop. So these sisters are looking for a positive male role model who's got his act together, who can string a sentence together, who's slightly practicing. And here's this scholar who's far away from his family, 200, 300 days of the year. What's going to happen? Do we think we have unlimited resolve? Do we think we have unlimited ability to prevent ourselves falling into fitna? No, it's not. It's not unlimited at all. Think 3 steps ahead. What's going to happen when we don't have female scholars on the circuit? We don't have female speakers. The sisters are going to have to try to connect to a brother. Then don't ask afterwards, where did things go wrong? It was designed to go wrong. Abu Bakr. To me, growing up, you always hear the stories about the life of Umar Anhu, and maybe Ali Anhu and others, Khalid ibn Anhu, of course. Abu Bakr Anhu, we know he was number 1, undisputed, right? Prophet's best friend. We don't really understand what makes him special, what made him special. What are the cool stories of Abu Bakr Anhu, right? People name their kids Umar and Uthman, Ali. Very few people, I think, as I said, our African brothers, very few people name their kids Abu Bakr, right? We don't really know what makes this man special until you delve into his life. until you go into what it would be like to be in his situation and how unusual he was even for this time. You know, there's lots of leadership courses. Some of you guys probably been on it, right? Loads of leadership courses, leadership management course, medical leadership course. You know, everyone's going leadership, this, leadership, that. You know what there isn't one of? Not one, I haven't even found one. There's no followership course, right? There's no course that teaches you how to be a good follower. We can't all be leaders all the time, right? We're not even all cut out to be leaders. But every one of us needs to be a good follower. And Abu Bakr al-Anhu taught this the gold standard. The gold standard. If you want to have a follower, you want to have a follower like Abu Bakr al-Anhu. This is why, right? This is why the Prophet ﷺ, when he had the weight of the world on his shoulders, right? The Prophet ﷺ had the message of Islam put on his shoulders, not just to deliver it to the people in front of him, but to deliver it to all times for all people. That's why the message of Islam was so heavy, that it would have crumbled a mountain had it been given to a mountain. If there's an Argentinian living on the moon in the year 3000, the Prophet ﷺ has the same responsibility of getting the message of Islam to that person as he did to the person standing in front of him. No other prophet was given that responsibility. Can you imagine if every one of us was given the responsibility of delivering Islam even to one individual in our literally our own university? We would probably find it difficult. But to give it to someone in a different university, that's crazy. And to give it to someone in a different university who in a language we don't even speak, that's even crazier. To give it to one person in a different university in a language we don't speak, 1,000 years later, come on, that's crazy. That's beyond crazy. This is what the responsibility of our Prophet ﷺ was. And who did the Prophet ﷺ lean on for support? Except Abu Bakr. And how did Abu Bakr support him? Just watch. You know, when the time for Hijrah came, Hijrah, we talk about Hijrah, but again, we need to reinterpret what Islamic history is. It's not what we think it is. Things are not the way what we picture in our mind. I read it's an amazing book by this guy called Barnaby Rogerson, right? It's a non-Muslim. Sometimes the non-Muslims write the best books about Islamic history because they know how to elucidate history. And he writes that, you know, when you think of Makkah, what do you think of? When you think of Makkah at the time of the Prophet, what do you think of? You think of desert, right? Desert, few tents, few camels. Wrong. Because when you think of Makkah, you should be thinking about New York. Not Makkah, not desert. Because New York is a much better analogy for what Makkah was. New York is a city that is built on nothing. It doesn't actually produce anything. It takes the wealth from one place and transfers it to another place, and in the process makes itself super rich as well. That's what Makkah was. Makkah was a place, they didn't do anything, they didn't have anything. They took the wealth of Syria and Yemen and they traded it between different people, and in the process made themselves super wealthy. How wealthy? Abu Bakr al-Anhu at the time of Hijrah, the amount of money that he had was the same amount, 20, 30 years later, was used to ransom an entire city in Syria. When the Muslims were fighting against the Romans, and a city wanted to pay a ransom for itself, a whole city, that amount of money that they gave was the same amount of money that Abu Bakr al-Anhu had by himself at the time of the Hijrah. And Abu Bakr al-Anhu was not the richest of the businessmen. He was a medium level businessman. He was not super rich. So at the time of the Hijrah was not just a Hijrah, it's not just an expedition, it's a travel, like we travel from Makkah to Medina. It's an escape. This is like an action movie. If you follow the Hijrah route, the Prophet ﷺ, Abu Bakr al-Anhu went in the wrong direction. They did all these kind of tricks because they were running. They were running away from the Quraysh. If they were caught, they would be killed. But how did the Hijrah start off? Like any good captain of the ship, the Prophet ﷺ was the last one off, right? The Muslims had started going to Medina. They started going to Medina. But the Prophet ﷺ stayed back. last one out, right? Him and Abu Bakr anhu. And we know the story that the Quraysh were waiting around outside the front door of the Prophet ﷺ, waiting to kill him. And the Prophet ﷺ blew some dust in their face, they fell asleep, or they couldn't see, and he walked past them, and he went straight to the house of Abu Bakr anhu. He turned up in the middle of the night, right? Maybe midnight, maybe 2, 3 a.m. And he knocked on the door. And Abu Bakr anhu goes, who is it? The Prophet ﷺ said, it's time. That's it. It's time. What did Abu Bakr anhu say at that time? If it was us, time for what? Do you know what time it is? Can't we go in the morning? Right? Or if we're super eager, we'll be like, okay, wait, I just need to get myself up, I just need to get ready, get dressed, just get stuff together. No. What was Abu Bakr anhu's response? There are 2 camels, they're ready, they're loaded, they're fed, let's go. He was ready. He didn't know when the time was coming. He didn't know that it was going to be this night. He knew that that time is coming. I am going to be on a permanent state of alert. I'm going to be ready 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I'm not even going to sleep properly. I'm going to be 1 eye awake waiting. That knock comes. Between that knock and us getting on those camels should be no longer than a minute. And we're on those camels and we're on our way out. That is Abu Bakr anhu. A follower like that you will not find anywhere. A follower who thinks ahead. A follower who thinks about his leader. You know, there's how many of you been to Medina? Okay. Those of you who haven't been, go inshallah, it's a life-changing experience. But when you go and you say salam to the Prophet ﷺ, and then you take a step, you say salam to Abu Bakr anhu, and you say salam to Umar anhu, and then you go out. There's Bab al-Baqi, right? There's a door to Jannat al-Baqi, and you go out the door. As soon as you come out the door, so it's not even like, you know, this is the hujurat where you say salam, and you walk out this distance. As soon as you get literally just to here, outside the door, there was an enclosure, like a room. It was wooden paneling, and it had like golden spikes on it, and a door that was locked, always locked. And since I was little, I was like, what's behind that door? What's in that? You know, there must be something there. Something valuable, something interesting, something amazing. Until one day, because I used to live there, so we used to go regularly. Alhamdulillah. One day I walked past and the door was open. And I thought, oh my God, this is my chance. And I looked in, and this is what I found. The guy was asleep, so maybe you can see me take the picture. Or maybe it's a picture from the internet. But anyway, I took a picture. But basically, there are some steps, there's some shoes, there's some wooden things, and there's mops, bleach, that kind of stuff. I literally didn't know what to say. I was like, this is a cupboard. This is a janitor's store. This is all like, did you not find anywhere else in the whole of Medina to put a janitor's store on except right next to where the Prophet ﷺ was buried? What in the world? And why is this the most elaborate janitor store in the universe, right? Like built with this, with golden spikes. Like, who cares if someone steals your mops? And I didn't understand until eventually, after many years of research, I found out what this was. When any member of the Muslim community was dying, the people would tell the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ would go and sit with that person until they passed away. And then after they passed away, they would wash the body, they would take them to Masjid Nabawi, they would do the janazah, and then they would take them to Jannat al-Baqi and bury them. As any of you will know, especially those who are medics, dying is a very temperamental process. It's not smooth. Sometimes people could be dying for hours. Literally, you know, they're like, oh my God, he's dying. And like 6 hours later, they're just hanging on with that last breath. Keeps going. We don't know. Some people could die very, very quickly, and some people could take ages. And it's very difficult for the Prophet ﷺ to turn up, and it's like, oh, it's not dead yet. Time's going. So what the Sahaba realized, without the Prophet ﷺ ever having to say a word, they realized that our Prophet ﷺ's time is valuable. So they stopped telling him when someone was dying. And when someone passed away, they would take their body and bring it next to the house of the Prophet ﷺ and leave it there. They wouldn't even disturb him at this point. The next prayer that the Prophet ﷺ came out for naturally. So let's say someone died just after Zuhr. When the Prophet ﷺ came out for Asr prayer, as soon as he came out, he would see a body out of the corner of his eye. Who is that? They would tell him, he'd be okay. Let's lead the prayer, we'll do the janazah, and then we'll bury him. Very quick and efficient process, right? Suddenly the Prophet ﷺ's time is not being taken up all whole day. Now, just after prayer, janazah and bury. And this area, right next to where the Prophet ﷺ buried, this is where the bodies were kept, and this is where the janazah was led. So all the big Sahaba, the Prophet ﷺ's wives, all of the janazahs was led from here. This used to be Masjid al-Janazah, but the masjid was broken a long time ago, and that's why this enclosure is still there. For me, it's a lesson. It's a lesson on how much the Sahaba valued the time of their leader. Be a good follower, be a great follower, and make the life of your leader easier. Find out, how can I make, you can't all be Isoc president, but you can all help the Isoc president or the head sister in discharging their roles. You can't all be in charge of the masjid, but you can all make their lives easier. You can all find out a way to smooth the processing. You could be a good follower. Learn from the life of Abu Bakr. So I want to finish with this, brothers and sisters. The Prophet ﷺ said that my Sahaba are like the stars. Whichever one you follow, you will be rightly guided. And we've learned, or we've heard stories from the life of Ali radiallahu anhu, from Uthman radiallahu anhu, from Umar radiallahu anhu, and from Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. And hopefully they're not just stories. Hopefully, if we can just take even one lesson from any of their lives and apply and implement it in our own lives and our communities, it will make a huge difference. Whether that be like, let's get organized. Being organized is a principle in Islam, right? The Prophet ﷺ said there is no wisdom equal to good planning. That hadith no one talks about. Why? Whether it's about being the first to own a mistake, being the first to apologize if you make a mistake, publicly if you have to, it doesn't make you smaller. Whether it's about standing up for what's right, even if nobody else does. Whether it's about learning not just how to be a good leader, but to be a good follower. If you implement even one of these in your own lives, in your careers, in your Isoc, in your community, things will start to change. Because listen, remember that statement by the Prophet ﷺ. My Sahaba are like the stars. Whichever one you follow, you will be rightly guided. The problem is, brothers and sisters, we don't follow the Sahaba. We just stare at them. Right? And if you just stare at the stars, you're not going anywhere. You're not being guided to anything. You're just still staying where you are, but you have a great view. And that's us. That's the Muslim Ummah today. The majority of the Muslims don't even know the stories of the Sahaba. We don't relate to them. They're not relevant to us. We don't even sure who they are, and what they stood for, and what made them human, and what problems they had, and what mistakes they were encountered, and what good things that they had, what tragedies happened in their life. We're not aware of all these things. But when we are, they become real human beings to us. And they become people we can relate to, people we can learn from. So let us follow the Prophet ﷺ, and let us follow these stars. And following them means following their footsteps. And when we follow them, then yes, we will be guided, inshallah. We will find a way out of the darkness that we're in right now. I'll finish with this, brothers and sisters, that, we have a special responsibility. We, in this community, are the top 1% of the Muslim Ummah. We know the people, they like to talk about the 1%, right? Well, they're talking only about the economic 1%. Out of the Muslim Ummah, forget even 1%, we're probably the top 0.01%. How many Muslims are there in this world that have economic security? How many Muslims there are in this world who have, alhamdulillah, like the people in this room, you probably have Islamic knowledge, you have a desire to learn about Islam and to practice Islam in your heart. Many Muslims, they didn't have that opportunity. They grew up in communist countries, they grew up in families that didn't teach this. They grew up in communities that didn't emphasize this. And how many of us have the intellectual capacity? The intellectual capacity to try and do something better, to try and do something different. You know, the rest of the Muslim Ummah is looking to us. They're looking to us to make a change. They're looking to us to make a difference. They're suffering, they're crying out. And they're looking to us and we're looking at ourselves. We're only interested in our own things. The majority of Muslims in this campus, they're not part of the Islamic society. Right? I guarantee you on any given night, there will be more Muslims in any club than there will be in any mosque or in any Islamic study pyramid. On any given night. Something's not right here. What is going on? Why have things not improved? One of the reasons is because we don't realize the potential we have to change. We don't realize that we are the ones who are supposed to be bringing this change. We don't realize what abilities we have and how much rests on us. If every single person who was in this room got involved, inshallah, and did their part, things would be different. Things would change. But if it's the same 2 or 3, like in every university, out of 1,000 Muslims, there'll be 100 that are part of the Islamic society, and there'll be 10 that are working their socks off. What if there was 100 that were working their socks off? What if they got organized? What if they became, what if they had a single vision? What if they had a common purpose? How would things be different? How many more people would we reach? How many more people would benefit from the message of Islam? And how many more non-Muslims would see us in a better light? We have an opportunity here to really change things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us this opportunity, and it's up to us to not only take it, but to run with it. Change things now so that inshallah our situation will change. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not change the situation of the people until they change themselves. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us this chance, inshallah, to take on some of these lessons and to get to know the Sahaba, inshallah, in a deeper way, so that we can implement their lives, learn from them, so that eventually, inshallah, we can follow in their footsteps.